How do you have 4 chances at something and manage to fail every single time? Well, I guess they do say the definition of crazy is to do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. That's why the biggest failure or choke job in the history of the NFL is the Buffalo Bills. Not only did they have the audacity to lose 4 straight Super Bowls, but in the span from 1988 to 1999, they went to the playoffs 10 times and came up empty-handed every single time. In more recent days, they've been to the playoffs 5 of the last 6 years and have come up short as well, both times having a generational talent at the quarterback position. Let's talk about the biggest failure the Buffalo Bills have had. How do you manage to go to 4 straight Super Bowls and lose all 4? To make matters worse, back-to-back against the Dallas Cowboys, and they lost all 4 to NFC East opponents. We'll start covering it year by year, starting now. Before we get started on today's video, I would like to hold a moment of silence for Shaquille Barrett's 2-year-old daughter who tragically passed away recently. Starting in 1990 for 2 years prior to their first Super Bowl appearance, so in 1988 and 1989, they would actually make it to the divisional and conference round respectively. Nonetheless, they would finally make it to the promised land in 1990, led by the likes of Hall of Famer Jim Kelly, Hall of Famer Thurman Thomas, Hall of Famer Andre Reed, and even Hall of Famer James Lofton. This almost reminds me of the Greatest Show on Turf, but like the Great Value brand of it. They had 4 Hall of Famers on offense, and that was it. Unless you're a Giants fan like myself, then Scott Norwood is in the Hall of Fame as well. The Bills would have a record of 13-3 in the regular season, and they would be considered the favorites to win the Super Bowl. Quick fact, they would also beat the New York Giants in their regular season bout. I haven't even mentioned the fact that they had a top 3 pass rusher of all time in Bruce Smith, who won Defensive Player of the Year this year. The Bills would see themselves down 20-19 in the Super Bowl, and they would drive all the way down the field and try to kick a last-second field goal. Yeah, that turned out horribly, but not for me. I'm a Giants fan, obviously. Bills would rinse and repeat the exact same next year, though this time without Bruce Smith, as he only played 5 games due to injury. Although to make up for it, Thurman Thomas would win the NFL MVP award this season. They would once again finish 13-3, and there's not much to talk about because this time Buffalo would get absolutely steamrolled in the Super Bowl by the Washington Redskins, being outscored 31-10 in the first 3 quarters of the game, losing 34-24. Fast forward to the next season, the Bills would still have the exact same roster. Like I said, rinse and repeat. Buffalo would only go 11-5 this season with players such as James Lofton getting older. The Bills would try again, this time against the Dallas Cowboys. There, they would get smacked around, and they were straight up bullied, losing the game 52-17 this time. Once more, the Bills would try again in 1993. Except this time without Hall of Famer James Lofton. I do want to say he was oldish during all 3 Super Bowls he was a part of, so to say he was a Hall of Famer makes him sound like he was incredible, but he was getting older. Nonetheless, the Bills would make it back to the big dance yet again. This time not losing as bad, but still losing pretty bad, being outscored 30-13 against Dallas as well. All in all, Buffalo would go to 4 straight Super Bowls, and the only appearances they have were all 4. They would lose all 4 while simultaneously being outscored 136-63. In the 6 years following their final Super Bowl loss, they would get to the playoffs 4 times and not advance past the divisional round. Now stick with me here because I'm going to bring this up to more current day events. So we'll go up to 2019. The Bills have drafted Josh Allen. Josh Allen was in the middle of his breakout year. He would finally establish himself as a top 5 quarterback in the National Football League. But in 2019, Allen had no help offensively. Defensively, the Bills were incredible, ranking 2nd in points allowed and 3rd in yards allowed. The defense was led by the likes of Tre'Davious White, Tremaine Edmonds, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, and veteran Matt Milano. The Bills' defense would be the definition of amazing in today's standards. That 2019 team would make it to the wild card round after going 10-6 in the regular season, but would unfortunately lose 10-7 against the Houston Texans in an overtime game. After having great success the year before and also seeing that Josh Allen was special, Buffalo knew it was time to get some help for Allen, trading a first-round pick for Stephon Diggs. While yes, that pick would wind up becoming Justin Jefferson, the offense with the addition of Diggs would take a huge step forward, becoming the 2nd best offense in the NFL at the time, only behind the Chiefs. So I think it's a very, very fair trade. Unfortunately for Buffalo, their defense would fall apart and be ranked 16th in points and 14th in yards. That's not bad, but compared to the years before and the years after, it's really not that good. They would wind up 13-3 this season, and they would lose 38-24 in the conference championship. 2021, arguably the best chance the Bills had at winning it all in recent years. Their offense would be ranked 3rd in points and 5th in yards, and their defense would be ranked 1st in both categories respectively. They would go 11-6 this season and crush the Patriots 47-17 in the wild card round, just to lose to Kermit the Frog in their next game. That 2021 divisional round will forever be one of the best games I've ever witnessed. The Bills and Chiefs were crazy good, and it came down to overtime. I can't explain the game all that well. You'll just have to look it up or watch it yourself. And that brings us up to 2022, the most recent season. Buffalo would go 13-3, not playing the other game due to the Damar Hamlin incident. Despite this, the Bills would still have an incredible season. Their offense was ranked second in both scoring and yards, which made them the best offense. The defense was ranked second in points allowed and sixth in yards allowed. They would be incredible and would make it to the divisional round yet again, this time losing to the Bengals 27-10. Heading into 2023, they drafted a couple of weapons for Josh Allen, and Von Miller will be returning. Will the Bills actually win it at all? Yeah, probably not. It's the Bills. Continuing on the trend of bad, let's just talk about their history of horrendous draft picks and get it done and over with. In 1978, they drafted a running back named Terry Miller with the 5th overall pick. He had less than 2,000 career yards. Just the year before, in 1977, they drafted a player named Phil Dokes, who would play a combined 22 games in his career. In 1979, they drafted Tom Cousineau. I have no idea how to pronounce his last name, but we're going with that, with the 1st overall pick, and he had 6.5 sacks and 10 interceptions in his entire career. They would have 2 more noteworthy busts, those being Tony Hunter and Perry Tuttle. The last and final bust I can think of would be Aaron Maven. But not everything about this franchise is negative. After 1980, the Bills started drafting incredibly well, drafting all these players: Jim Kelly, Bruce Smith, Andre Reed, Thurman Thomas, Willis McGahee, Marshawn Lynch, Dante Whitner, and Stephon Gilmore. In recent days, to build their team, they've drafted their franchise quarterback in Josh Allen, a top 10 corner in Tre'Davious White, and a solid linebacker in Tremaine Edmonds until they just recently got rid of him. Going way back in history, they drafted all-time greats like O.J. Simpson, Billy Shaw, Paul Warfield, and even Carl Eller. In the most recent of times, Buffalo went through something that affected millions of fans worldwide. Damar Hamlin unfortunately suffered a very rare and serious injury. What the NFL strives for every day is to protect our players who go out there and put their lives on the line. I would like to say to all the cities around, but more importantly, Buffalo and Cincinnati, we as fans appreciate everything you guys did. Thank you. Well, it is kind of funny to pick on the Bills for the history that they've had. I think it's almost like the Chicago Cubs. They have kind of a curse that's just not really a thing, because I mean, if you're superstitious, there's a curse, but for the most part, they have what we call a curse. They just can't win it. It's kind of sad to look back in history and see the amount of chances that the Buffalo Bills had to win it all, and they just never did. It really is. As I said, and as I mentioned, I'm from upstate New York, so the Bills winning would be kind of huge. We're never able to pull it off, unfortunately. These videos are kind of short, but I like them quite a bit. Unfortunately, looking at the Bills in specific, most of their history has been filled with losing and pure sadness. There's not much positivity to talk about with Buffalo outside of who they've drafted. If you guys like this video and would like to see me do more biographies of different franchises, let me know, and I'll do more of these. Just let me know which one you guys would like to see next. If you're not already, click subscribe, it does help out a lot. If you like this video, make sure to click a like button down below and leave a comment, and I'll talk to you all later. Peace, I'm out.